are going to start freaking out and,
Yeah.
and be like, hey, jobs, education, healthcare, everything's kind of collapsing. So, I mean, it all depends, I guess, on how the public takes it.
Yeah.
It's at this point, I feel like it's just time bomb slowly ticking down.
You know what? I don't even care. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but I believe that. Have you ever heard of Nick Bostrom? He's a philosopher at Oxford University. And you ever hear Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan? Yeah.
You ever listen to Joe Rogan Experience podcast?
No, but I've know about the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm in the same lines that he is. I believe this entire thing is most likely a simulation.
It is. Are you talking about life just in general, or are you talking about the scenario behind the American government and what they're doing?
I'm talking about that this entire freaking thing is like a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. I believe that because Nick Bostrom argues that think about video games from 30 years ago and video games today. Now, 30 years from now, video games will be as real as real life. So how many video games are there? They're not going to be video games. They're going to be like virtual reality, full immersion things where you hook your brain up to it and you put yourself into it.
Joe Rogan's also smoked a lot of DMT and other
psychedelic
hallucinogenics.
But it's not his idea. It's not his idea. I disagree with him.
Oh no, I know.
But the guy who came up with it is the head philosopher at Oxford University, the oldest university in the world. And he came up with the simulated reality hypothesis. And I believe this. It's all so absurd to me. I think that it is just a simulation created by advanced civilization, and the purpose is like maybe to reach your potential. Because imagine a world where you got everything you wanted instantly. Imagine a world where you can max out your dopamine, max out your oxytocin, max out your endorphins, max out everything, and just feel good all the time. And there were no challenges. You never really had to accomplish anything. The world was perfect. You lived in a utopia. Imagine being born into a utopian world where machines did all the work, and you didn't have to do a damn thing. What type of individual would you become? It'd be boring. It'd be meaningless. There would be a huge existential crisis. And what would people with that amount of boredom do? It's like they would create. How would you create new life? You would need to do it in a simulation, because you couldn't bring them into it. You can't have people born into a utopia, because then they never appreciate anything. Isn't this a lot? Would you rather be here than born into a world where anything you wanted you could instantly receive?
Like utopia would be nice, but it would, in all reality, I think a utopia.
How would you appreciate anything?
How
would you ever appreciate anything if everything was, you never had any pain whatsoever? You never lost anything. There was never any challenges. You never had to overcome anything. You never ever had, there was never anything you ever really had to deal with. You would just be a shallow, empty, vacuous creature. You would just be a blob.
Pretty much.
High on drugs all the time. You just basically just zonked out, just like, yeah, man, feeling good. But you never loved and unloved. You never faced a challenge. You never had to mature as a human being.
Exactly. You've never had to learn anything.
You've never been afraid of anything. You've never been afraid to die, because your brain would be backed up on a computer somewhere or something. You would never have any real human experience, because everything would be handed to you on a silver platter. You'd be like any rich kid. You're any average rich kid. You would be a empty, shallowish shell of a human being.
That's pretty much right.
So my hypothesis, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm agnostic. I don't really care if it's true or not. I just like the idea that this is probably highly likely a simulation. The reason we're here, and I like this idea. I'm not saying it's, this is the gospel. I'm not saying it's true. Maybe it's not. I have no freaking clue. The world's so complex. But I like to believe in my mind that the reason we're here is to have a real human experience. To actually go out and live this crazy type video game where there's all these crazy things going on, and actually become an individual, actually have a personality, actually have problems and solve them, and actually, become a deeper person because of whatever you had to face in your life. Because if you've never been through like any suffering or any challenges, you'll never be deep. You'll never be thoughtful. You'll never be able to relate. Like, when I think about something, and I see someone in pain, it makes me sad because I've experienced that personally, and I see myself in them. And the reason I can watch a movie and I get that adrenaline rush is because I've been in scenarios where I've had an adrenaline rush. Because it relates to what I've been through. You can't appreciate art without your own experiences. When you watch a movie or listen to music, when you listen to music, don't you think about things in your own life?
Yeah, you should ultimately though think about, like, if you see, like, for example, if you see like a homeless person on the street, or you see like someone who looks like they haven't really been taking care of themselves that much, you ultimately should, as a human being, have some sort of like, sympathy or, towards them, whether or not you've personally faced those experiences in your life.
You should wonder why that happened.
You should wonder
how can we stop that from happening to people? How could we help that person? Can we help that person? How can we stop other people from becoming homeless and mentally ill? You should have, but unless you've been there yourself and actually experienced it firsthand, that thought will never occur to you, because that to you would just be like looking at like a rock. You have no ability to empathize with something you haven't had a similar experience with. You haven't. If you look at someone who suffered and you've never suffered as a human being, you don't know what they've been through.
Exactly. Like, have you ever read the book The Giver?
No, but I heard about it.
In the book, the guy, when you're born, it's a utopian community. There's no suffering, there's no pain, there's none of that. But there's also no real pleasure. Like, people are happy, but they don't know what happy is.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know what emotion is.
Fulfilled.
There's different like when you turn like different ages all the way up until the age of 12, you get different things for your part of your life. And when you're 9, you get your bicycle, and then when you're finally 12, you get your job for your career. And the main character, he gets this job as the next receiver, and there's only one receiver every once in a while, and it's the receiver of memories. So he has to physically learn and receive memories of pain and pleasure and all that stuff. And what happens is it eventually just becomes too much for him, because he tries to go up and gets the memories from the other receiver, touching him, wants to go and give those to other people. He makes him experience wartime. The kid's never known about war. He has no idea what war is, and to see suffering like that, so he freaks out. His body and his psyche can't take it.
Yeah.
So when I see people who see people in the street and stuff like that, who don't have any human emotion, it makes me even sadder. It's how do you not have a little bit of it's how do you not have
some people don't have
empathy?
They don't have mirror neurons. They literally do not have the ability neurologically to empathize with other people, because they lack that part of the brain which sees another person and then feels what they're feeling. And we've seen that reach in the brain, and it activates. And you see a person who's happy, it can, if it's a person you like, it makes you happy. But if I see my best friend, he has a smile on his face. Naturally, I have a smile on my face.
Yeah.
It's not, if he laughs, even for no reason, I'm like,
you're probably
I'm at least gonna laugh. I'm at least gonna smile. I'm like, that's fine. Yeah. If I see someone who's sad, then if I see something that's sad, then my mirror neurons activate, and I start to feel something. At least, and I want to know why. What can I do to help that person? So, anyways, we'll finish that up, and